Hello, I'm the Angry Spork. We are looking at another viewer request, one that's been in my bookmarks for a couple of years now. Many superheroes have rises, falls, and if public perception of them changes, seldom does it last very long, because status quo. Not so in this case, because today we begin taking issue with the life and times of Savior 28, which sees the titular hero's lengthy career with all the blemishes and uncomfortable truths throughout. Let's see if these comics make us want to turn the page, or turn our heads. Issue 1's cover sees a wall with "We Can Save the World" posters, and a costumed hero's blood staining one, as he lies on the ground. It's a pretty jarring and sensational scene, but I'm sure it won't have anything to do with the story itself. Written by J.M. DeMatteis, with art by Mark Cavallaro and Andrew Covalt, we open Chapter 1, A Kind of Eulogy, to a fierce battle in the streets, where Savior 28 is pleading with his arch-nemesis and dark parallel, Savior 13, that he needn't keep fighting like this, offering him help. But 13 ain't interested, claiming the hero loves this as much as he does, as he throws a helicopter on him. "Look, just because one time you crushed me with a train that unkinked my back doesn't mean I enjoyed it." Narration likens this to 4 Savior 28 movies that have been made so far, not including 1940 serials, see? Yeah. All of which have the same third act. Explosions, punching, and collateral damage we're not supposed to think about unless one of the main characters is involved. It's as if society, be it the government, culture, or our heroes, program us into thinking that some people don't count, but others do, such as Samantha, 28's girlfriend, whom S13 threatens to terminate as he walks away. As expected, this gets the hero back in the fight, lifting up the chopper and throwing it at the villain, who then says he'll kill everyone 28 has ever cared about. "Especially your regular Domino's delivery guy. Not because he means anything to you personally, but he always says, 'It's pizza o'clock' when customers open the door, and that's just really tacky." A massive uppercut sends 13 flying into the air, with the hero following.
Such a mighty wallop.
But, narration says, this third act is only the beginning, as unusual as that may be, because Savior 28 is the first and best superhero, also known as James Smith, though that probably isn't his birth name. His parents were a little tipsy when they decided to name him after an ad they saw on TV. That's why they originally named their kid $4.99 Big Mac combo meal. According to the narrator, seen at his laptop and holding a Savior 28 action figure, James told different people different stories about his lineage, that his parents were Italian immigrants, or from Dublin, Ireland, or Russian Jews, or that one of his ancestors fought alongside George Washington. James loved a good story, thinking it was more valuable and more accurate than the truth. No way for that philosophy to go wrong, huh, folks? Despite being prone to lying, he was the only hero the narrator ever had, while having conflicted feelings about him, wanting to be him, loving and hating him, but he was an original, someone that can't be replaced when they're gone. Like when Jimmy was gunned down by a worthless little 5 minutes after his death, marketing agents held a meeting to see how long they would wait before digitally using 28's likeness in pickup truck commercials. They decided on 2 months, but waited 3 weeks. News spread of this tragic loss, with President George W. Bush interviewed on a golf course, this being set in the early 2000s, who praised S28, even if he went off the rails in recent years, possibly from some supervillain messing with his head, or Saddam Hussein and his Gigantamundo mind control center he totally had. While 28 apparently didn't care for the Prez's policies, he did think he was at least sincere and doing what he felt was right for the US, as James could respect someone even if they had opposing views. Though this wasn't always the case, as he used to see things in absolutes, with us or against us and all that, like during World War II. His girlfriend Samantha would try to relate the wisdom of her father, a rabbi, how a loving heart can be a powerful weapon, that kindness and compassion can change the world. Given what Adolf the Moron was doing in Germany at the time, James felt those were a dreamer's sentiments, though knowing deep down she had a point. As the narrator pops the head off his toy, "Ah, nuts. I was going to sell that on eBay tomorrow." He opines that it took 28 6 decades to start being the kind of man Sam wanted him to be, and maybe that's what really killed him, not the bullets. I mean, I haven't read the coroner's report, but I get a sneaking suspicion that cause of death is going to lean towards the gunshot wounds, not lack of couples therapy. Though in some relationships, one could lead to the other, ha-cha-cha-cha. We see latter-day Savior 28 giving a speech, how his years of using force never brought accusations of preaching violence, but now that he's suggesting looking for better alternatives, he's accused of preaching peace. He gets a drink thrown at him as he talks about how kindness is devalued while arrogance and brutality proliferate, how some think they can use mass killing to solve their problems, and lies told by the government to justify war and torture, all while he's called a traitor. Just so we're clear, I did not choose to review this 2009 series because of recent real-life events, despite how tragically relevant the dialogue sounds. He pulls off his domino mask as we see him standing on a stage in Times Square, with a spotty turnout of mixed support, largely it seems negative, admitting his part in making a more cruel world. How he and other supers split humanity between good guy and bad guy, that maybe they didn't start the madness, but they certainly contributed. More stuff is thrown at him which may or may not have influenced who he blames next, the American public. Power brokers give official-sounding narratives to the media, who feed those stories to the viewers, who just accept what they're told, no questions or anger. He accuses them of selling out what the country stood for, because they've been scared into submission, so to hell Michigan with them too. Good thing he went with "We Can Save the World" for his campaign over his first choice, the "Everything's Kinda Your Fault Too" tour. Though he does add himself to that as well as he walks from the podium, and that's when he's shot 3 times. Though the media had spent quite a while demonizing 28 speaking truth to power, now they treated him as a saint after his death. Suddenly, that time he double-parked at Denny's wasn't conclusive proof he was in league with Satan. Our narrator mentions Jimmy's time fighting in World War I, and how hard it was for him in the years after. He didn't like talking about it, suggesting there was some truth in what the embellisher might say about it. Booze helped him forget, and the radio gave him hope for greatness in his future, which brings us to 1939, and his transformation into Savior 28. Again, various versions of this tale, from an experiment to create a Super G-Man, answerable only to J. Edgar Hoover, to an alien scientist that had been on Earth since the 1860s, wanting to create a planetary savior, to Uncle Sam himself magically endowing Jimmy with the American spirit, all of which we see depicted at once on a splash page. Hoover's design for his supersuit involved a hoop skirt and 4-inch heels, and he never got over being outvoted by Sam and the Space Dude. The one certainty was the source of 28's abilities, a large piece of the Master Stone, an ancient artifact that was grafted to Jimmy's chest. Though years of listening to the Lone Ranger and Green Hornet radio shows helped with his superheroic personality, as well as taking cues from FDR, Jack Benny, and Orson Welles. This is where we get the name for our narrator, Dennis McNulty. At 15 years old, he was attacked by a supervillain, and would have died if S-28 hadn't grafted a bit of the Master Stone into his stomach. This gave him a portion of the same powers, so he became Jimmy's partner, the Daring Disciple. Sounds a little blasphemous, even to a lapsed Catholic like me, but the truth is, the way I saw the world back then, not even Christ himself could hold a candle to Savior 28. Have you thought about maybe getting a suit of your own? Something sleek but practical? Like maybe a purple cape for effect, and... I'll shut up now. The 5 years of fighting alongside his hero were the happiest of Dennis's life, but eventually he wanted out of being a sidekick, and the two drifted apart. We go back to the fight with Savior 13, with an explanation for all this numbering. Before James, there were 27 other candidates for the Master Stone, but 13 was the only other one who survived, eventually went cuckoo banana nutters, and became a supervillain. This fight in San Francisco, where 28 found him in a small crater, was the culmination of 60 years of their conflict, their fight being the one constant as the world changed around them. But this time, Jimmy killed him. That punch severed 13's spinal cord and sent a piece of jawbone into his brain, this despite the two having massive battles for so many years before. His enemy lasted long enough to scratch 28's face, and that was it. The hero would later say in an interview that was the moment he saw 13's life had been a waste. The chaos and destruction were one thing, but he also reviewed comics on YouTube. Need I say more? Jimmy's own life also felt like a waste, now that such a foundational element of his existence was suddenly gone. Except, as Dennis narrates, there was someone else important in his life, the aforementioned Samantha Shane, who owned his heart. They had their rough patches, him cheating on her more than once, but he still cared. Since the stone aged him much slower, he still looked like he was in his 30s, while she was now in a nursing home suffering dementia. For a week after 13's death, James visited her, needing that connection to someone who saw the best in him, giving him hope. Then one day, after she responds with a slight tussling of his hair, Samantha too passed away. These losses were so overwhelming for him that after 8 proud years of sobriety, Jim checked into a cheap motel and emptied bottle after bottle of booze for 3 days and nights. He'd go through some of Samantha's effects that he took with him, but could only remember the first day. The following 2 were a complete blank. Flying in loop-de-loops for 3 hours, walking into a pet store ranting about how the Bedazzler was created by the Illuminati, his surprisingly heartfelt karaoke performance of "I would do anything for love, but I won't do that," all completely forgotten. For whatever reason, the Master Stone made him invulnerable to a bomb, but not immune from the worst effects of drunken excess. So when he woke up in the afternoon of day 4 and turned on the TV, he saw repeats of the Twin Towers being struck by hijacked planes. He had returned to lucidity on September 12, 2001, completely missing one of the most devastating attacks in U.S. history. Instead of flying to the disaster sites and helping how he could, finding the perpetrators' comrades, or even showing up to bring some hope to the country, he drowned himself in the bottle again, because, as narration states, Savior 28 died that day, and would keep dying for the next 2 years. I really don't like this reboot of Groundhog Day. As we get the POV of a sniper scope of 28's assassination, Dennis repeats his contradicting feelings about his old friend, and the issue ends on the revelation that he was the shooter, as he makes his exit through a secret tunnel. Yeah, under different circumstances I might use that Freakazoid clip, but here it'd feel downright disrespectful. Heck of a first issue! It's a pretty non-linear introduction to this character, getting his death out of the way before confirming the deaths of others beforehand. And that ending? Such a good twist, and wonderfully executed. With Dennis's remarks on James being mixed, yet still somewhat fond and familial, narration never lets on that he would have been the triggerman. Where some stories would have waited to give such a surprise until the last act, this one gets it out of the way in Chapter 1, but still leaving enough mystery that the reader is asking questions and wanting to know more. And know more we shall next week, about a hero that was fallen in various ways. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.